Hello, Internet people. After a long hiatus due to finishing my last year of pharmacy school, today's episode sees the musician and promoter June of Tallahassee join the podcast to discuss their various projects and creative processes. Admittedly, I dropped the ball when it came to editing this in anything close to a timely manner. The interview was recorded back on November 21st, 2022. June has been very gracious with me regarding this, and I thank them sincerely for doing the interview and not pressuring me too much to get this done in as fast as I should have. Well, your room looks cool.
Thank you. I decided to choose my poster corner.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in a little light building. This is like my school's extension campus. That's part of the hospital.
Oh, nice.
Thanks again for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me okay? I'm just using like my laptop's audio.
Yeah, you're fine. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Cool. Got the late night caffeine going?
It's actually caffeine-free tea.
Oh,
My
nice.
throat has still been funny after the cold.
Yeah, mine still is like, whenever I'm probably gonna cough a lot just because it always feels like slightly wet.
Yeah, no. I had that going on today as well. It's weird.
Cool. Well, you want to just jump into it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I always like to have the people up on introduce themselves. So, give us your name, your pronouns, what's your musical shtick, that sort of stuff.
My name is June. I'm 20 as well. My pronouns, I would say they/she, because I've been going more by they lately. And then I guess my main shtick is vocals and then bass, and then I've dabbled on drums and guitar a little bit.
So you're doing solo stuff now, right?
Yes, I am.
And what's the name you go by for that?
I don't really have a name for it. I kind of just think of it as me playing, but I have gone on a flyer under the name of Mannequin Mark, which is a name I actually chose just exclusively to book under and then ended up playing under it as well.
Gotcha. So why don't you choose that name to like book shows under?
Because I had already been booking shows. I had booked about 6 shows so far, and I wasn't really receiving credit for booking it and doing it and making the flyer and putting all the work into it. So I just kind of picked Mannequin Mark because I would bring a pair of mannequin legs to a lot of the shows I booked. I actually have 3 of them now. They're all in a row. So I just kind of was like, oh, you see a mannequin, June booked the show. And then I haven't even taken the mannequins to most of the shows I booked after, but it kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, 'cause I don't think I don't recall them being at the shows I've been to that you booked, but maybe I just didn't pay attention. Which I haven't been to that many.
They pop up sometimes if I remember to bring them or not. It's a little bit of a hassle to be carrying like an amp, a bass, and a pair of mannequin legs.
And a generator sometimes.
And a generator, that's true.
I guess to focus on your musical projects first, and then we can probably talk more about the booking stuff later. So how would you describe the music you're making now?
I don't really have a word for it because I don't take any direct influence from anyone. I know someone recently, like compared me to Chelsea Wolfe, and I kind of see the style, but I just do whatever feels right. So I guess, I mean, there's like some punk influence and different influences you might see just from music I've listened to over the years, but I don't have a specific style.
Gotcha. So you're saying you don't take like a direct influence. So has that been purposeful or just kind of how it happened?
Just kind of how it happened.
Does that vary from like how you've traditionally made music, or is that pretty much always how you've done it?
That's pretty much how I've always done it, even with my first band, Stacy the Distress. We did mostly originals. Like, I think we learned one or two covers, but we only ended up performing one cover in the 3 years that we were a band.
Are y'all like just on a hiatus, or is it officially broken up now? Stacey?
We pretty much officially broke up in May. I mean, I still talk to Clyde, the guitarist, and we might play together and do like a duo or something at some point. But as far as Stacy the Distress as a project goes, it's unfortunately ended.
Well, 3 years isn't that bad of a run for a local band.
Yeah, I mean, part of that was over COVID. I mean, we did a live stream, but we weren't practicing for a good 3 months or something. But
Uh, Fair. What is your creative process then?
I usually start with lyrics and then go to like working with repetition and different numbers and then adding notes into it from the lyrics, like a very specific process. I know with Stacy the Distress, what I would do is I would write lyrics and then bring it to Clyde, the guitarist, and we would workshop it into finding the key to work with or a melody or a riff or something. So I usually start with lyrics. I do have a few bass lines that don't have lyrics that I just played around with, but it's usually starts with a place of deep emotion where I need an outlet. So I write lyrics and then and like I have a master doc, which is a shit ton of lyrics that don't have like a home yet, I would say. And then later when I'm feeling more creative, I flush out the song more and then try to work with it on my bass or work with it with Clyde or if I'm working with someone else with them.
How often does it happen where like you have like all these lyrics out and you're like, okay, I have this idea for a song, but then you wind up completely changing the lyrics to the song you make at the end?
I mean, I wouldn't say completely change the lyrics because there's still that emotion behind it, but often with Clyde, he would come up with something and I would change the lyrics, then he'd change the riff to it. So we did that pretty often, or I've made lyrics fit more to whatever I'm working with, but the bass still stays the same, I would say.
So I'll be honest, since there's nothing that is like really recorded, I have no idea what your lyrics tend to be or are. So
That's that's fair. I guess how do I describe them? I mean, I can give you some examples of lyrics and songs wrote and then how we worked with them if you'd like.
yeah, go ahead, belt it out, like sing it.
Okay. Because even I didn't neglect to mention, actually wrote it down when preparing for this. Even because sometimes in Stacey the Distress, we were working on a concept EP, so we wrote songs about a werewolf and a vampire and a witch. But even in those songs, it still had a bass and an emotion, such as Pale Skin, which was a one of our favorites. You can find it in our performance videos. We performed it almost every time. But it started with like I call them bullshit lyrics of pale skin, red eyes, stick your fangs in my thighs. Just like weird out of like, what do you mean? But there was still at the time, it was junior year when I wrote it, a fear of getting older and a fear of becoming my mom, which I guess is kind of a fear that we all have. So the lyrics I put into this like bullshit song, as I would refer to it at the time, where people say when I get older I'll be just like her. So bright me so I can stay forever young. So just like a little bit of emotion in each song, and then I guess wanting to be someone's was make me yours, vampire girl, make me yours, and it go over and over. So that I actually had to sit down and write because I was like, I want a vampire song. I mean, I've
So what's
but
the? Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna go into a more recent song.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Um, More recently, coming from like the emotional thing, because it's also writing has been a coping mechanism over the years. More recently, I had my appendix removed and I had a bad experience that night with morphine. So I was watching a kids show called Ruby Gloom, which has a character Misery, and it's a wonderful show. I recommend it. I've actually performed a cover from it that inspired the vocals for the song. Because I wanted the song to be like haunting, frantic, angry, and scared, like I felt at the time. So I started with that like idea and worked with the vocals of more, more, and then in the song, yeah, I say 7 to 9, which is like my pain scale at the time. So from that 7 to 9, I did the 7th fret to the 9th fret on the G string on my bass, and I just built the song off of that and fully fleshed. And then I added like my looping pedal and distortion pedal to build like a solo song. But it's always has started from that initial place of whatever I'm feeling, and then I've kind of built like the bass line or whatever off of something in the song. I know a different song for Stacy I wrote was Emo God, which was just this angry song about this dude I disliked or looked up to slash disliked. But the bass line and notes I imposed on all my bandmates was E and G. They hated it because it was just E and G, but it was still built off the original lyrics, and I had a cool bass line for it later, but so I guess the creative process has changed a bit since I can't rely on Clyde to workshop it. I have to rely on my own musical knowledge. I admit I got lazy having Clyde there to workshop it with, so I let my own knowledge like kind of fall to the side and just worked on lyrics. But since breaking up in May, I've actually been, or even not even, we officially broke up in May, but things were shaky last November. So almost exactly a year ago when I really started to work on my own stuff and working on my own things in order to be more independent for my outlet.
Yeah, I guess like the last time I saw Stacy play was like March. And it's just this year's flown by so quickly. It doesn't even feel that long ago, but I guess it has been a long time.
Yeah. Our last show was in May and it was only Clyde and I playing it actually. We didn't even have the full 4 piece together.
Oh dang. I have to say, like hearing you like that you wrote a song about morphine is like fascinating to me because like I'm in my last year of pharmacy school, so anything about the drugs like that and then like the pain scale stuff is so cool to me. Um, which this may be too personal of a question, so you don't feel like you have to answer it, but just curiosity on my part is like, so what was your bad reaction to morphine?
It wasn't as much as I had a bad reaction as they didn't do the base layer of pain correctly or pain management correctly, so they didn't give me Tylenol, or they were supposed to give me an oral thing. So because as you probably know with morphine, it goes like that. The
Yeah.
highs and the lows are very extreme. So they didn't give me a base layer. So throughout the night, I just kind of had a really high pain thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. What the fuck is going on? So I'd call the nurse and be like, can you tell me I'm not dying? And she would just give me morphine. And it would soothe it for a bit, and then the pain would go back up. Um, and then I'd be like, I'm dying again. Is something wrong? And more morphine and more morphine. And it was really unfortunate when I told my mom she's a nurse in the morning, she was like, that's not what they're supposed to do. What the fuck? I was like, great.
Yeah, I'm
It's,
cringing a little inside myself. I hate that you had to go through that.
yeah, unfortunately, another part of that specific song is in the morning when the doctors came, they didn't want to give me any oral pain medication after that because I guess the nurse had written down I kept asking for morphine because she did give me the choice between like the oral pain oxycodone and morphine. She said, do you want instant relief or do you want to take an oral thing? And of course, me at the highest pain level wanted the instant relief. And then she just kept giving it to me after that. And it was just,
Okay.
and then in the morning, the doctors treated me like a drug seeker because I guess they thought I kept asking for morphine and I just really wanted reassurance I wasn't something didn't go wrong.
Yeah, there are definitely some providers who like they'll read this one thing in a chart and instantly label person like drug seeker, and is a bad situation the way people don't really like have nuanced perspectives of like pain management stuff. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it just definitely it made an impact, and so some
Yeah,
morphine.
well,
Because it's just like the highs and the lyrics were more simple than usual, I guess, but it was the highs and the lows so extreme. Just give me more, more, more. Don't listen to me, just give me more. I guess a
that's
very like sarcastically written song.
well, I appreciate it. That's a cool story. It's a terrible story
It's
because
a
what
you
happened.
know what, but we ball.
Uh, I guess this is morbid curiosity or fascination. In any case, something else I want to circle back to that you said, you were talking about how like you y'all were making like a concept album, and was the concept just because y'all wanted to write X thing to make kind of make a cohesive whole or make it cool, or was it more like that was a way to talk about personal things without making it so like obviously personal? Or what was their
Um,
general thought process going into making a concept album?
it just kind of happened, so really almost neither, because the concept was the first song I really wrote was in guitar class my junior year before I like started this band. I was strumming on the guitar, just bullshit, and I was like, "Hey God, can I speak to your manager?" And from there, my bandmate Kira and I, she was the drummer, we wrote like we wanted to name it the Four Housewives of the Apocalypse, where the first song was this Karen asking to speak to God's manager because she shot her cheating husband, the mistress, and then her daughter, right? but but one song was Linda's a Werewolf, which was about the mistress, that even though she was shot with lead, she wasn't quite dead. The second song, Pale Skin, which was the vampire one, Bite Me So I Stay Forever Young, is Sandra, her daughter, the Karen's daughter, isn't quite dead because she's a vampire now and can't be killed by lead. And then the other song was a witch song that's like, I'm cursing all these people to be undead later because you tried to drown me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So it was just written from teenage angst, junior year of high school. But it became some of my favorite things I'd written, or my bandmate Kira had written Linda's a Werewolf, and I kind of tweaked it as I needed with the vocals. But it is some of my favorite songs. And of course they still like had some sort of emotion behind it. Mainly pale skin with not wanting to grow older, and then Hey God was just like, what if Karen asked for God's manager?
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Demand to see life's manager.
Exactly.
So the question becomes, you said you're 20 now, right?
Yes.
So at 20, are you still riding out of teenage angst?
Um, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, let's see. The most recent songs I've written, I mean, one would be the one about being on morphine and that being an experience. A different song I've written recently is actually about being a teenager and trying to heal from it. I like there's a lot of symbolism in that song. I'm still like kind of fleshing it out, though I performed it for a set or two. So I guess I'm at 20, I'm writing about my teenage angst and my experiences on, I guess, being on year two of being moved out from my parents and different things.
Well, it's 2022. You gotta be meta about it, right?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. So how would you say you've grown as a lyricist over the years? Because it sounds like you've definitely put in a lot of time and made a lot of songs.
How I've grown as a lyricist. Hmm.
Or even just changed over time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that because I still like look at lyrics I've written from different times and I'm extremely proud of them. Like I call the songs I wrote at 16, 17 like bullshit songs, even though I'm proud of the emotion that's behind them. And then, I mean, even at 18, I wrote a song like being pissed off at the amateur porn industry that I still want. I need to have it written into a song. But I guess most recently my lyrics have taken more of I guess a slower turn, or there's still anger behind it, but it's slower, more melodic because it's just me on my bass. I don't have the power of a drum or behind me or any other instrument, so it's really relying on the lyrics more than what I had previously written, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because I rely more on the lyrics now than I used to with a full band with me.
that makes sense. I mean, since you're so you've been mostly performing with just you, right? Because I haven't seen you since Stacy broke up. I haven't seen you play.
Over the summer, I was playing or practicing for someone's like soft indie band. I was doing drums for that. And then I did a couple sets where we did different covers with some friends under the name June and the Bastards.
Oh yeah, because you did Dory and Sebastian's farewell show, right?
Yeah, we did. It was just a few different, like, I think we did three covers. And then a different time with different friends, I did three covers. It was just like, we need someone to play, so I'll grab some friends and we'll play some covers. But since then, I've pretty much only been writing solo stuff. I am hoping for a second practice with a hardcore project, but I'd be playing bass for it and I wouldn't be writing any of the lyrics or really any of the music myself.
Oh no, you'll contribute at some point, I'm sure.
I'm sure I'll have another band I'll be writing the majority in at one point, but I'm completely fine with supporting someone else's vision or project if they need me to. If they want to write the bass line and just tell me how to play it, go ahead. I'd be happy to.
I'll be interested to see how that develops. Because Tally does have a pretty good hardcore scene, I guess.
I'd say so. We it's kind of the same group of people, just switching off in different bands, but it's a pretty they do really well, I would say. They usually get decent crowds coming out, and I know recently I want to say Armor toured Europe, which is
Really?
really sick for like a local Tallahassee band.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know they did that. Dang.
Yeah. And then Ideation recently played an after show for Fest, and that was really cool. I actually caught a ride down with them to go see them play it. That was sick.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that on their either. I think I saw on both of y'all yours and their Instagram or something on the stories. I guess so. Like, how does your project fit into like the broader Tallahassee scene? Then
How many? I want to say I've I've only played two sets for the solo set so far, and it was more of a thing of one was a show that I booked that I like. I didn't really. Did I book it? I helped book it, but we couldn't really find anyone else to play. So I was like, I can do something on my bass for you guys and open for you. And they said, yeah, sure. And that was fun. And then a different time, someone was just couldn't find anyone to play with them again. So I was like, I can do this. And they were like, yeah, that'd be sick. So really, my solo set so far has kind of been a last resort, but the scene has been picking up with newer bands. So if I want to play, I'll probably have to promote myself more or just stick my book my own shows and stick myself on it.
gotcha. Do you have a favorite place to play in Tallahassee?
I wouldn't really say I have a favorite place to play. I do quite adore the skate park and doing generator shows there, but I don't it has its drawbacks, but it also has a lot of great things about it as well.
Yeah, I heard there was like a fire thing that happened on the show that was there Monday.
Yeah, I was wanting to go, but the cold took me out. I actually asked about it. Just some kids started a fire because it was cold out, and some lady reported it, so the fire department came and closed it off. I was looking forward to that show too. I'm actually rather disappointed I couldn't attend.
The same. I really was wanting to go to it. Have shows been happening at the skate park for a while, or is that like a relatively recent thing?
It's actually the first show there was put on by Ideation last year in December, which is really cool because Stacy the Distressed actually opened for it.
Oh,
And I don't know, it's not my favorite performance video of us. I was actually rather embarrassed because my mannequin legs fell. But it is, I'm very prideful to say that I played the first skate park show or opened this first skate park show.
inaugural show.
Ideation in the hardcore scene, they did the legwork of figuring out who owned it and if they could play there, if they'd get it reported. And they figured out that they wouldn't get reported to the police if they played there. So then they put on the show, got the generator, and then I first booked my first generator show of April of last year, and that was a lot of fun. And then I've done a few then, or I've helped a few bands put on shows there, and by providing a generator and figuring it out.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because it's only like what a block from the Capitol building in Tally.
Yeah, I think so.
They just seem so very punk. There's just way to say F you to it.
Yeah, it's funny because my younger brother, is in a well, was in. I'm not sure if he's currently active in it, but he's in the like high school punk band Zero Shock. And my favorite song of theirs is I don't know the title. Anyway, it says "Fuck You, Ron DeSantis" in it, which
Yeah. Let's get a resounding chorus of that right now.
Yeah. Which they had been playing at the skate park like over the past winter. And it's funny because at the abortion right rally that happened the day that Roe v. Wade was overturned, you I don't know if there's any footage of me, but I was two-stepping to "fuck you, Ron DeSantis" in the Capitol lawn building. This is when I get put on a watch list after he becomes the president. I hope he does it. God damn it.
Oh goodness, yeah, yeah. It's a. I don't like it's to be depressing to think about that. But have you played outside of Tallahassee?
No, I haven't. I know some people in Gainesville said they'd love to have me play with them, and that'd be really sick. They're really nice down there, but I just haven't gotten the chance yet. I know if you had asked me when Stacy was together if I wanted to tour, I would have been like, hell yeah, I'd love to. But my bandmates weren't really down for it as much or down to play as many shows as I was.
So are you less apt to do it now that you're solo?
I think I want to develop my set more and just become, I guess, more sure with it before I go out of town as a solo artist. But I hope to one day. That would be cool.
How do you want to see it develop?
I just want to become just stronger in playing and have more of my own songs to play and develop the songs a little bit more because I think there's more work I can be doing on them. Because I know I plan to mention this, but when you're with, like when I was playing with my band, if I messed up, then I had my bandmates to fall back on. Either whatever they were playing covered up what I messed up, or the sound would just cover it up, or I'd have them to look back on and give me more confidence or get me back on time. But when I've done my solo sets, there's no one to hide behind like that. It's just me. So if I fuck up, it's just me fucking up. So as far as like going out of town with the solo set, I just want to become more confident with what I'm doing before I really do it.
That's fair.
And probably get some recordings to like show people to be like, here's what I do.
Here's my tapes.
Here's listen to my demo, please.
Really mess with people and just give them flash drives.
That'd be funny. I might just do that. Just throw USB drives into the crowd.
Oh, like make it rain.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be plans.
I guess like switching gears then. What's it been like from the like promoting end of booking shows?
To be honest, kind of shit.
Oh no.
Because if a show doesn't really go well, they're gonna blame you for not promoting it enough. And I know the most recent show I booked, they didn't name me at all. They didn't tag me in any of they didn't even tag me on the flyer I made. They didn't even thank me for the generator or like anything. They didn't mention me whatsoever, and it was really frustrating, especially because they had asked me for gas money for one of the bands.
Uh,
They asked me for $50 for gas money for a band that I didn't agree to have on the bill because I couldn't afford to give someone $50. So I guess more recently has kind of been shit because if it doesn't go well, it's going to be on you, and if it does, then you're probably not going to get credit unless you really put yourself out like I did this. This was me. And that's, I guess it's not really something I want to do, is to have to take the credit or to have it be like this was all me. But at the same time, if I don't do that, then someone else takes that credit, and it's been really frustrating on that. I know a benefit show I did over the summer that I even opened for, it went really well, except one of the bands after I had played with my friends and got some friends to play, and then even got a band from Jacksonville to play. One of the other bands like took credit for it and took credit for the Jacksonville band coming to play, even though they didn't know them. They were like, "Oh my god, thank you to that one band for playing," and they didn't mention me or the other band that played, and it was just really frustrating to put all this work in and just have people take credit for it or not acknowledge it. But I still want to continue doing shows and promoting shows. It's just, I don't know, people are kind of whack. And it is honestly rewarding, really rewarding other times as well. Especially because honestly, I would book a show just so I could dance at it. I love to dance at shows. So I would do that. But it has been a slight problem and draining recently of just not getting credit for any of the work I do. Like, I don't expect someone to be like, "Thank you, June, for making the flyer and booking this band, trying to book all these other bands that said no, and providing the generator and all this other bullshit stuff." But just to not even get like one of those things really does hurt.
Yeah, but that really is pretty shitty that like nobody ever like thinks of you and and all the stuff you put into it. Thank you for me for all the shows that you put on.
I appreciate it.
I've been to multiple and really enjoyed them. So
Yeah, because I don't know. I still like the music scene, and I still have a passion for it. But at times, it it's not. It's stressful and annoying, but people.
so how do you go about getting out of towners to play?
Honestly, I just talk to people. Sometimes it will be they're already in town, and I'm like, "Oh my god, you guys were so cool. Will you play again?" And sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they're I don't know. Other times I'm just like, "Oh fuck, a band just dropped from this benefit show," and I message this random band, or I ask around for people in other bands. I know for the April skate park show, band. No, it was the Broken Heart Fund show for
Oh no, like 3 to 5 people weren't there. Or it's like it got completely changed around from the flyer, I remember.
two of the bands were involved in a big scandal and almost got canceled. So I had to kick them off. And then that actually happened again later for actually the benefit show that I didn't get credit for much. I 2 weeks before it, I was trying to find another band because a different band dropped. So I was asking different bands that I knew, like, "Hey, do you know of a band like a 3-piece hardcore band that will play maybe female fronted, maybe not?" And I got a recommendation for Exalterist, and I asked them, and they were like, "Yeah, we'd love to play." And so they came to that show and they played, and that was really sick.
It's awesome. Do you ever have a hard time getting bands to play benefit shows since they won't, I'm assuming they don't get paid anything?
Not really in the like DIY scene, because I know some of them are just they kind of know that up front they're not going to get paid and they're fine with it. Like I up until recently I haven't had too much of a problem with people wanting to get paid for shows because I'm just upfront with, "Hey, it's a benefit show, it's all going to this," or "I don't know if there's going to be much of a turnout, but you can have all the proceeds if it's a touring band." Like some people just want to play, and it's really sick to see that. I don't blame people that want to get paid, that is totally fair. But I also know that I'm not a venue. When I book a show, I I usually can't I don't have the money to pay people like a venue does who's making alcohol sales or other sales to offset the cost.
So how is your experiencing like booking shows and coming from that in affected the way you view shows as a performing artist?
I don't think it really affects me as much as a performing artist, because I was already, even when I was performing, I was already like our first show as Stacy I booked and I put it together. I wouldn't say completely by myself, but I still had help, but it was mainly me pushing for it. So performing for me is just as synonymous as booking. It's just kind of been how my experience as performing is booking. But as far as how I attend shows, it's definitely been different than I see my friends attending shows when I've booked them, because I know a lot of, not a lot, but some of my peers in the scene don't want to pay for shows. They're like, oh my God, $10, I can't afford that, which is fair. But also being on the other end of booking a show and knowing that you're asking these people to pay $10 so this band can have gas money, it's like I want to pay cover. I want to help out. I want to get the merch, but not everyone sees that. Like, I know there's been this misconception that the venues in town take all the money and don't pay out bands, which isn't correct. Usually the band, the touring band will get the money. Or if you're a band, you just kind of have to, a local band, you need to negotiate if you're going to get paid or not if you're going to play a show.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that's the majority of the big stuff I was going to ask. Is there anything else specifically you wanted to talk about?
Did we talk about how I got into the music scene?
No, we didn't. So tell me how did you?
It does have a funny story, actually.
Okay.
So I guess to preface this, my dad did drumming for churches growing up. So I did like have some exposure to drums at least, and some like playing, but never much to like the punk scene itself, until freshman year I got put in guitar. In high school, freshman year I got put in guitar, to which I didn't want to play guitar, so I just read books the whole time and didn't learn shit and almost failed guitar 1.
I mean, don't say that. If you're reading books, you learned something, just maybe not related to guitar.
Yeah, but it takes talent to almost fail guitar 1.
Dedication.
Yeah. So then later in junior year, I was in AP art, but I got depressed and I didn't do art. There's a pattern here, you see. So they kicked me out of AP art and they put me in guitar 1 again, because I was like I was at a different school. So I was like, I'm gonna pretend to know guitar so I can get a good grade at least. So I pretended with whatever like some knowledge I picked up from the first class to pretend I already knew it, so I didn't have to do any of the work in this class, right? But I didn't switch out of guitar 1 the second time because I actually had a crush on this girl in the class. And so we would do, while everyone was actually learning how to play guitar, I was either reading or helping to tune guitars because I already knew how to play it, right? So then one day, I think when I was reading some book, two sophomores were like, hey yo, you look cool. Do you want to join our project thing for this guitar class? And I was like, okay, sure. And that's when I discovered the bass was an instrument. I didn't realize the bass was an instrument before then. I just associated it with the drums, like, oh, deeper tone drum. Don't ask me how. I wasn't thinking about it. I was reading, right? But as soon as I started playing bass, I just kind of fell in love with it. And I mean, I guess that does count as a band, because we did play for the school 1 or 2 times. We were called the Acrylic Hearts. I wanted to be the Faded Hearts, but the dude in the band was like, bleh, acrylic snakes. And we were like, so I was like, we'll combine them. But so while that was happening, my teacher, shout out Danny Wood at Sale, he's still the music teacher there. He gave me this book called Girls to the Front to read, which was about the female punk scene in Olympia, Georgia in the 90s, the Riot Girl scene, which I just loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is so sick. This is an outlet for them. Kathleen Hanna is so fucking cool. And so I wanted my own band. I wanted a punk band. And so I got together with the guitarist of the Acrylic Hearts, one of the guitarists, and the drummer. We got Kira. And I was like, let's start a break-off band. Let's this dude out of here. I mean, he was kind of creepy anyway. He like wanted band bonding, which was band cuddle time, so he'd hold us. And it was just weird. It was fucking weird.
Yeah, that's a dude overstepping bounds.
Yeah, so when I say we kicked him out, it was a good thing. We weren't I mean, maybe it was mean, but it was deserved, right?
I don't think that's mean at that point. I think that's just healthy.
Yeah. So it was healthy. Starting our own band, Stacy the Distress. And I was learning bass then, and we were starting our band, and then so it would have been March 2019 that we started the band after I read the book, and I was like, oh my God, I love the bass. So I pretty much was like, oh my God, music, and then immediately started a band. So, and then Stacy the Distress, because I think you mentioned a question about how we got the name as well. For some reason, I don't quite remember why, I wanted to be the Stacys. Because I had by that point I'd already written or started writing, "Hey God, can I be your manager?" So I was like, what if we chose like a middle-aged mom name, and we're the Stacys? But I looked it up on. Sorry, I heard something fall downstairs. I looked it up on Google, and a shit ton of things already had the Stacys as their name. Like it was a chip brand and whatever. So me, 16, I was very concerned about having a brand. Don't know why. But so I was like, this needs to be original. This needs to, when it's looked up, nothing else should pop up, right? Which worked. I did it. You look up Stacy the Distress, only we pop up on YouTube from the videos that people posted of us. So it worked. Only we pop up. But I was like, okay, if I can't have the Stacys, what if I had the acronym STD? Because that's hilarious. And so I looked up D words, and we just kind of went through a list, and Stacy, like, I don't know, some D word, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Stacy the Described, I don't fucking know.
Stacy the Damned.
Stacy the Damned, which would have been good too. But Stacy the Distressed just had a ring to it, which later just kind of came not into play, but our later songs after the concept EP, quite a few of them were written in a time I was in distress. So I would play, and it was just like, this is my distress. I wouldn't, if people call me Stacy, I would want to punch them, but the band was definitely an aspect of my distress. So it was Stacy the Distress.
I like it.
Thank you. And it does mean that later in August 13th, 2021, we all got STD tattooed on us. Well, technically, I was the only one that got tattooed on Friday the 13th of August 2021. Everyone else kind of followed suit after that. But the four bandmates later, the bassist later quit after getting the tattoo. but there are 4 people with the same STD tattoo on them.
It left its mark on y'all forever.
Yes.
The band.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I guess that's a good place to end it. So I always end by asking people to give a shout out to a local band, artist, whoever in their local scene that they, want to give some attention to.
I mean, shout out Ideation and Armor. They've heavily influenced the scene, like the first skate park show, and just letting me catch a ride with them recently and different things, and they're all really cool. This shouldn't be so hard to think of other people I'd want to shout out, but I guess shout out my old bandmates, specifically Clyde and Kira, and I guess anyone I've played with, general umbrella of anyone I've played with so far.
It works. And just, where can people find your music or where your shows are or anything like that?
I mean, if they're interested in old videos of Stacy, you can just look up Stacy the Distress on YouTube and we'll pop up. Or our Instagram is still active. Or not active, the page is still up. As far as my solo stuff or shows that I put on, it would be Mannequin Mark on Instagram. I do plan on making a Facebook soon, but I haven't yet. And then for my own personal Instagram, it's just Frenchie the Frog. Hence the frog as my name on Zoom. I saw that like as I joined and I was like, oh, that's funny. I don't remember how to change it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, June. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time talking to you. Hope to see you play a show soon.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do something in December, and then I'm starting to I'm working on a show for January 13th, and we'll be getting the flyer out for that. I've been planning it since May, but
Oh my.
so that should be fun.
All right. Well, again, thanks, June, for coming on. Have a good night.
You too.
Well, dear listener, if you've made it to the end, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It always surprises me anyone actually listens to this little thing I make, and it's great encouragement when I look at the analytics and see even any views. For extra context, the hardcore band June mentioned they were joining during the interview is out playing shows nowadays, and it's called Brain Dead Youth. No music is recorded as far as I'm aware, but check out their shows if you're in Tallahassee. They have a show on May 20th at the Bark if you're listening to this in time for that. This should be out before then. Also, check out any shows in town booked by June, aka Mannequin Mark. That's their promoter title. And lastly, the audio end caps for this episode were live recordings from a Stacy the Distressed set at the Bark in August 2021. And the full recording can be found on the YouTube channel TLLYHC, which is spelled as one word, TLLYHC. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe out there.